welcome back to 13C. Today we're going to talk about air compressors and PCP air rifles. We're going to focus in on this 4500 PSI air compressor from Venturi. It's in from our friends over at Air Gun Depot. And if you do PCP air rifles, one of the difficulties you can come up with is having to get your air bottles refilled, especially if you're talking about the higher end stuff. Most dive shops go to about 3,000, 3,500 PSI. Trying to get up to 4,500 PSI to get filled can be difficult sometimes depending on where you live, where you're at in the country and how far away it is. So having something like this at your house, or we're here in our barn today, is really going to come in handy. So normally I don't do unboxing videos, but this thing weighs in about 80 pounds and it comes shipped from FedEx. But this thing is packaged like a freaking tank. So we'll wind up pulling out. You got your instruction manual in here. We've got this. I'm going to pull this guy out, show you how to refill a PCP air rifle with it, purge it, go through all the steps of setting this guy up right out of the box. So let's just dive right into it. First step is getting this guy out of here. If you want to save your box, you can lift this thing straight up, which is what I'm going to do. I need to go grab our distilled water. You don't have to use distilled water in here, but you figure, you've got less than a gallon of water that's going to go into here, and how often you put water into it. I don't know the answer to that. We're going to find out though. But the water you're going to put in here is going to last for a long time. Why not do it right? Put distilled water in there out of the gate. It's like $1 a gallon anyway. And that's what we're going to do. So let's dive right into it. I am actually going to, for this, since I've never done one before, I am actually going to go right through the instruction manual in here and hit it point by point. So first step in here is to remove the back cover plate. We already took the little various accessories out. Phillips head screwdriver removes 5 screws. Unscrew the cap to the water filter, and then we are going to fill it with water. Now it says to fill it up with approximately 5 quarts of water. So we're going to fill ourselves up from our distilled water here. Again, you don't have to use distilled water, but considering this is going to go in there and stay for a while, I find anytime there's hoses and things running through stuff, I quite honestly prefer to use something that's, if it's going to stay in there for a while, isn't going to get gummed up and leave residue. It's just, over having a long history of dealing with different stuff like this, I would honestly rather do that. That's just me though. In any event, there we go. We've got our water in here. Should I fill it up a little more? I don't know. How many quarts are in a gallon? What is that? It's got about that much room right there. We've got a refill hose which comes in from the bottom, which pulls water out. And then this hose coming back in dumps the water back in. Boom, we're gonna put our lid back on. Now the next step, unfortunately, and I read ahead, we'll put this guy cover back on here. What we're gonna have to do next is add some 5W40 motor oil or compressor oil. So we're gonna have to complete this another day. I actually didn't realize that it was 5W40 oil. There's another compressor that's out there that uses a slightly different weight, and I have some of that oil. Actually, I have several different types of oil here, but no 5W40. So I'm gonna either do that or just order some compressor oil and get it in, and or stop and pick up some regular stuff at the store while I'm in. I'll take a look and I'll see. And we'll be back in a day or so to finish this up. So after hitting the hardware store, I picked up some full synthetic compressor oil. It's slightly more expensive than going with like a traditional 5W40. The owner's manual says you can use either one. If I had 5W40 here, I would have used it since I went out. It doesn't take a whole lot of oil anyway. I figured I'd spend the extra like $2 and upgrade to the quote unquote better stuff, if you will. Anyway, this little red cap that comes out of the oil thing, we'll put a picture on the side here of the oil level so you can see what it looks like before you fill it. And after you fill it, this little red thing is going to wind up getting tossed, or I guess you put it back in the box where this comes in, and this is a special cap that you're going to put on in there, and instead of putting that little temporary cap back in there. So I got a breathing apparatus on there for you. I don't know. It's what they have. It's what they do. I am not familiar really at all with air compressors. So we are going to kind of just do this whole thing together by ourselves. Watch that oil go in there. I think it says about 1/3 of a quart. Basically, I'm going to fill it to where it says it's supposed to be filled, and we're going to go from there. Obviously, let this oil settle a little bit in between fills, because it takes a little while for that stuff to kind of work down in there. We're looking pretty good here. We're just going to need just a little bit more. I think it's going to actually wind up being a little closer to maybe to a half than a third to get this thing filled up all the way. And that is looking good right there. I think we'll call it there. All right, now we're going to put this cap back on here. Like I said, it's in the box of stuff that comes in there. It also comes with a bunch of other replacement stuff if you need it. This is going to be hand tight. There's also a pressure relief valve right here you need to put on here. Screw that in there. That also is hand tight as well. From what I'm seeing from the part types and what it says in the manual, you're not going to want to overfill any of this stuff. You can obviously get to that. I just took this front part off here so you'd be able to see in here a little better from the other side. So we're going to get the stuff back on here, and we're going to do its first operation. It's got to run for 10 minutes. We're going to have to bleed some stuff out. So we'll see if we do this in the barn here. We kick the door open, bring it outside so it'll blow a little bit of extra oil out of here as we're doing it. So according to the manual, when you run this, you're supposed to be wearing eye and ear protection. The very first time you run it, you're supposed to do basically a 10-minute purge. So without anything attached to it, without the test plug in there, first you will turn on the cooling system. There it goes. Next, you are going to turn it on and let it run for 10 minutes, periodically turning this to relieve the pressure and let some of the oil blow out. So we're gonna do that over the next 10 minutes. We'll see how loud it gets. We'll obviously condense it down. So, for a lot of compressors, after you turn them off, you should leave the cooling system running for just a little bit, help cool it down. The cooling system can run independently of the compressor as you hear it now. Out here, I haven't worn any hearing protection for this. Being outside, we are kind of up against the building over on the other side, but it doesn't seem to be that loud. Now, that said, if I was inside, and I will run this inside at another time, I would almost definitely wear hearing protection, because inside in a confined space, even in a bigger barn or bigger garage, all that reverberation in there, it's just not worth it to stress your hearing out. You might as well go ahead and protect it anyway. So according to the manual here, it says after your 10 minutes, you are supposed to let it cool down before actually using the unit for the first time. It got up to about 39 degrees centigrade, and since I've been talking to you and turned it off, we're down to 32 on the 32 centigrade on the thermometer that's right up here. There's a pressure gauge on top here as well. To set that, and we'll talk about it now while I'm waiting for this guy to continue cooling down, you push down on this red thing. Well, the red thing will free spin and it'll set what you need to set. You bring it on the other side of your indicator. It's a silver line here, a silver bar with a red tip on it, and that's going to be your maximum pressure gauge. So this is a 4,500 PSI compressor. You would never want to set it above 4,500 PSI. Now we're going to be filling this Hatsan Flashpup here. This will go up to 200 bar of pressure. So I'm going to set this as close to 200 as I can get it here without worrying about risking going over. There's also an indicator on the side here. We've shot this guy down into the yellow now. Rather than take it all the way down for this first one, I want to charge it back up. I've got some more sighting to do on this optic that probably will wind up living on here. The optic before was at right on Mod 5, 60-24 power, parallax all the way down to 10 yards. It is a great optic for its price point, really great. First focal plane as well, but it's just too much magnification for this, and with that QD mount that I had on here and with the bell on the end there, it was just too much elevation to be able to get it all the way down that I wanted to for shooting this guy at 35 yards. So, at least for our grouping. So now that we've got that out of the way, we'll put this on here. We'll do some more practical testing. That review is going to be coming up either just before this one or just after, depending on what I wind up editing and getting out first. So definitely stick around for one or the other, whichever we're going to be watching it first. This is going to be duplicated, the filling of this one just a little bit, but the actual, all the stuff you're seeing here is going to be in this standalone video on the compressor itself. Again, thanks to Air Gun Depot for that, for setting us up with that, and we're bringing it to you. We'll have links down below to this. We're going to run a deal and some coupon codes for you guys as well. So huge thanks to them for being able to help us get introduced to you guys and get ourselves introduced into that. So you're supposed to let it turn it off and let it cool down, but we are down to where we started at. It's at about 28 degrees centigrade. I'm going to just reset the camera here and make sure I got all my components ready to get this done, and then we'll be right back. This isn't going to take long at all. Like, we're already almost down 27, coming up on 28, coming up on 27 degrees. So cooling system seems to go pretty good on here. So the last thing we want to do before we start filling our first air rifle here is to pressure test our sensor here. So the maximum fill on this Flashpup is 200 bar. That's what I've got this set to right now. We're going to test it out and see how it works. So we're going to plug the end here of our QD release. Turn on the cooling system first. And let's see how she does. There we go. We stopped at 200 bar. Very cool. Our current temperature right now is 50 degrees centigrade. Maximum operating temperature for this you're supposed to keep your eye on is 95 centigrade. So there we are. The cooling system, of course, that you hear is still running. Our air temperature now on this is down to 48, 47, 46 degrees centigrade right now on the thermostat right here. So that cooling system, I guess, will knock it back down, and 41.6. There we go. So I'm going to bleed some air out of this to see if there's any more stuff to come out. Open it slowly. 38 centigrade on there. There we go. All right, so that actually bled all of our air all the way back down to 0. The compressor did not automatically kick back on. It's still in the on position, but it did not turn back on when the pressure got down below where it was set here. So this is a automatic shut off. It will not start itself back up when the pressure drops back down. So interesting to see there. Our temperature is already down to 29 centigrade, and turn the compressor off. And there we go. I guess we are ready to rock. So we have our 4,500 PSI air compressor here from Air Venturi. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this air tank in here is 200 bar or 2,900 PSI. 2,900 PSI, 4,500 PSI. So one of the ways to make sure that you don't accidentally overfill this is on top here, there's a pressure gauge. You set it to the maximum pressure you want. When it gets to that point, it shuts the compressor down for you. Obviously, you want to keep your eye on it yourself. Make sure you're paying attention and whatnot, and you want to test that before you actually, with the plug on the end of your compressor hose, to make sure it will shut off when it gets that temperature, when it gets to that PSI. But it's a nice fail-safe to make sure if you're using an air compressor, pay attention to these things and hopefully have something with a fail-safe on it like this. Anyway, we have our fill nozzle here with a quick attach on it. We're going to connect it up to here. First step is we've got our compressor plugged in. We checked all our fluid levels, everything else. We push this in. It pushes out this little pin in here, which protects it from dirt and gunk and crap getting inside there. Make sure you hold on to this. You want to replace it as soon as you're done with this. We've got it in here. We've got all that taken care of. Next, first thing we do, we turn on our cooling system. Give that a second to fire up. We'll start circulating. After we do that, we already had our pressure set. We checked all our levels. Everything's good to go. We're going to turn the compressor on. So that was I was watching it closely, and that was the automatic compressor turning itself off once it hit 200 bar. So I'm going to turn this compressor off. The cooling system's still running. I'm going to let the cooling system run for just a little longer before I turn it down. Let that run for a few seconds. Before you disconnect this, step one is to open your release valve down here. Let some of the extra pressure blow out. There we go, we got that done. Now this has a valve in it to prevent that pressure from escaping, so you're not going to drain your tank in here by opening that crack up. And then, boom, pulls right out. That's it. I'm going to close this up just so I don't have to worry about it for next time. The cooling system's doing its job. It's already down to 24 degrees centigrade, which is fine by me. I don't need to keep running this. It's cool out here. Temperature is just going to keep falling on, so it won't hurt anything. Anyway, that's it. It's that quick, that simple, and that easy to fill. And our fill time on that, going from about 75 bar up to the max 200 bar, was 3 minutes, 3 minutes roughly. I didn't time it the exact second. That was about 3 minutes to fill this, which that's pretty cool. Anyway, let's go put some more rounds down. Last note here on the compressor, eye and ear protection is going to be a must, especially your eye protection. You don't want, you've got high pressure air going on here. You don't want to blow, be it a tiny speck of dirt or dust get in your eye, or God forbid something worse. So definitely wear some eye protection. Haven't had anything fly out or go nuts at me or anything else, but the one time you let your guard down is when something can happen. And a note on the ear protection, if you're using this thing inside, and I purposely pulled it just outside here, it's not really loud out here. Your neighbors are going to hear it for sure, but I don't think, just anecdotally, you should wear your hearing protection. For me, out here running it while I'm talking to you here, I don't really feel the need to wear ear protection. If I was running this indoors, I definitely would wear ear protection. Now out here, without it reverberating off anything and being mostly open on three sides, with the exception of the structure here next to us, just off camera, that's where we're at. Anyway, let's take just a moment to thank everyone for joining us over the past couple of months here as we've gone through our progression for air rifles, PCP. As I've said from the beginning, this is brand new to me on this level anyway, as far as dealing with it myself versus, kind of just playing around with friends and other colleagues, air rifles and stuff. So this is, hopefully this has been educational to you. We're going to continue to do stuff like this as we go forward with some more air rifles and things as we continue to progress. I definitely hit that notification bell and subscribe if you haven't already, so you can continue to get updates on our videos. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate the interaction and feedback we've had with you as far as over the past couple of months, like when the Hatsan video dropped about 2 weeks ago, the Flashpup video. Got a lot of great feedback on that. I appreciate it. Please keep that coming. I'm learning here as I'm going and conveying this to you. I know it's a little different for what we're doing here. Normally I have a better grasp on the subject matter, but I know a lot of you are brand new into it as well, so I might as well take, like I said from the beginning, to take you on this adventure with us as we learn more and go through this. And it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. The compressor's doing very well. Obviously it's only been a couple of months, so follow us here in our social media channels as well, and we will continue to bring you updates on that. And we're going to use that compressor on future PCP air rifles, so we'll keep you up to date on that, and you'll see how well it's holding up for us. I have pretty high hopes for it. The feedback that we've seen from people who have them and commented on some of our other posts that we've made have been pretty positive, so it leads me to believe this is going to keep going well. Hopefully it will, but we'll keep you updated just in case there's anything that changed. And thank you again to Air Gun Depot for helping us get set up with this. We really appreciate that, helping to make kind of this series happen with that. So thank you again. Facebook.com/gun reviews, as well as Instagram. We are at 13C Gun Reviews, and sign up for our newsletter. We're giving away a Geissele SSP trigger here coming up pretty soon, so get signed up for that. Check out that video that dropped several weeks ago for this video, for this SSP trigger giveaway coming up. A huge thank you to Geissele for that. And we're going to be doing more through our newsletter as well over the next several months and year as we stage some of these things out as a thank you to all of our subscribers. We're doing it all through our newsletter. That way, whether you're following us on YouTube or Full 30, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is, it's kind of level playing field for everybody. We got some of that feedback just because some of the stuff we had done had been centric to either Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. So now we're just kind of newsletter. It'll cover everybody, because everybody's got an email, and we don't have to worry about, if you're one platform or another, staying on there. So thanks again, everyone. It's a beautiful fall day. I've actually got a little bit of yard work I got to take care of here real quick, and stay safe. We'll talk soon.